Imagine a single mistake that could have triggered World War III. During the tense years of the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a dangerous game of espionage, each side constantly trying to outsmart the other. Spy exchanges became necessary, but they were incredibly risky, with lives and national secrets hanging in the balance. The question that lingers is, what actually happened during the most dangerous spy exchange in history? After World War II, the world was left in a state of uncertainty, and two superpowers rose from the ashes with completely different visions for the future. The United States wanted to spread democracy and capitalism, promoting freedom and economic growth, while the Soviet Union aimed to expand communism and establish strict control over its satellite states. This clash of ideologies created a tense standoff that stretched across continents, shaping global politics for decades. Neither side trusted the other, and every decision, military movement, and political maneuver was carefully scrutinized, knowing that a single misstep could trigger a massive conflict. In this high-stakes environment, espionage became one of the most critical tools for both nations. Spies were tasked with infiltrating enemy lines, stealing secrets, and gathering intelligence on military plans, nuclear programs, and government strategies. Their work often determined the balance of power between the two nations. Some spies became legendary because of the impact of their actions. Aldrich Ames, for example, was an American who betrayed his country by passing top-secret information to the Soviets, putting countless lives at risk. Rudolf Abel operated deep undercover in the United States, skillfully passing intelligence back to Moscow without being detected for years. Oleg Penkovsky, a Soviet officer who secretly worked for the West, provided crucial information that helped the United States and its allies understand Soviet nuclear capabilities, potentially preventing large-scale conflicts. Because of the importance of these individuals, when spies were captured, they became valuable bargaining chips. Spy exchanges became a necessary, though extremely risky, part of Cold War diplomacy. These exchanges required precision, careful planning, and immense courage because a single wrong move could lead to disaster. The lives of the spies, the security of nations, and even the fragile peace between the superpowers depended on these dangerous negotiations. Each exchange was a tense moment where political strategy, human lives, and the shadowy world of espionage intersected, demonstrating just how precarious the balance of power truly was. The most dangerous spy exchange involved a few key figures whose captures had sent shockwaves through both nations. One of them was Rudolf Abel, a highly skilled Soviet intelligence officer operating undercover in the United States. His knowledge of American operations and contacts made him extremely valuable to the USSR. On the other side was Francis Gary Powers, an American U-2 pilot who had been shot down while conducting a secret reconnaissance mission over Soviet territory. Powers carried critical information about U.S. surveillance capabilities, making him a crucial asset for the United States. Both spies had been apprehended in high-profile circumstances, Abel after years of careful investigation. Powers after a dramatic capture during his mission, highlighting the high stakes of Cold War espionage. The political pressure on both governments to carry out the exchange successfully was immense. Leaders on each side were under scrutiny not only from their own governments but also from the public and international allies. A failed exchange could have led to political embarrassment, retaliation, or even escalation into armed conflict. Lives hung in the balance. The spies themselves faced possible execution or long-term imprisonment if anything went wrong. Beyond the personal stakes, the secrets they held were of tremendous strategic value, and both sides knew that any leak or misstep could compromise national security. The delicate balance of international diplomacy relied on flawless execution, making every step of the exchange a tense and nerve-wracking affair where the fate of nations and the lives of individuals were intertwined. The choice of location for the exchange was one of the most critical decisions in the entire operation, and it required meticulous planning and strategic thinking. The area had to be neutral enough that neither side would feel at a disadvantage, yet controlled enough to prevent interference from bystanders or local authorities. Often, such exchanges took place at quiet border crossings, isolated bridges, or locations far from busy cities, where both parties could arrive and depart without drawing attention. The setting had to allow for careful observation of every movement, yet maintain enough distance to prevent any sudden confrontation from spiraling out of control. Selecting this location was not a simple matter of geography. It required understanding the behavior of both sides, predicting potential risks, and anticipating the reactions of local forces or unknown third parties who might attempt to disrupt the operation. The logistical challenges of the exchange were immense. Timing was perhaps the most crucial factor, because even a few minutes' deviation could raise suspicion or create gaps in the security perimeter. Surveillance teams had to be strategically positioned to monitor the exchange without being detected themselves, often hidden in plain sight or operating under layers of deception. Every approach, route, vehicle, and individual involved had to be carefully coordinated to ensure there were no surprises. Both sides had to consider the possibility of ambushes, traps, or last-minute changes, knowing that a single misstep could end in disaster. These challenges created a tense atmosphere long before the exchange even began, as intelligence officers and agents knew that success depended on flawless execution. Security precautions on both sides were extensive. Guards were stationed discreetly to watch for threats, while signals and codes were established to confirm identities and movements. Vehicles were thoroughly inspected, and participants rehearsed their roles to ensure smooth execution. Even small gestures or miscommunications could be misinterpreted, leading to dangerous misunderstandings. Every detail mattered, from the position of a briefcase to the angle of approach, because the wrong action could escalate tensions in seconds. The tension surrounding the exchange was almost unbearable. Those involved constantly imagined worst-case scenarios. What if a spy panicked and tried to escape? What if enemy agents attacked in a sudden ambush? What if a single misread signal triggered violence? Each possibility had the potential to ignite a crisis that could escalate far beyond the immediate operation, perhaps even drawing in international powers. The operation was a delicate balance of precision, patience, and nerves of steel, demonstrating just how high the stakes were in the shadowy world of Cold War espionage. Every step, every decision, and every movement carried weight. And the lives of the spies, the security of national secrets, and the fragile peace between superpowers hung on the outcome. The day of the exchange carried an almost unbearable tension, as if the entire world were holding its breath. The location, a quiet, isolated bridge far from the eyes of the public and away from busy city streets, had been chosen for its neutrality and security, but it offered little comfort to those involved. On one side walked Rudolf Abel, the experienced Soviet intelligence officer, his long overcoat and hat carefully concealing his identity. Every step he took was measured, his face calm but alert, knowing that any sudden movement could be misinterpreted. On the other side was Francis Gary Powers, the American U-2 pilot, also carefully composed. His posture rigid with awareness, each man understood the stakes perfectly. One wrong move could mean death, capture, or an international incident that might spiral out of control. The guards and intelligence officers scattered around the area watched intently, remaining invisible yet ready to intervene at a moment's notice. The exchange itself unfolded with painstaking precision. Prearranged signals guided every movement, a subtle nod or a specific placement of a briefcase, confirming identities and initiating the swap. The briefcase, unassuming but symbolically charged, contained essential items and documentation, the proper transfer of which was critical to prevent misunderstandings or accusations of bad faith. The spies moved deliberately, almost robotically, each aware that the tiniest hesitation could provoke suspicion, or worse, trigger a violent confrontation. Vehicles waited silently nearby, engines quietly running, ready to whisk both parties away in case of any emergency. Even the air seemed heavy with anticipation, as if every element of the surroundings, the wind rustling the trees, the distant hum of traffic could influence the outcome. Moments of extreme tension punctuated the procedure. A local passerby briefly wandered into the vicinity, forcing the guards to act with quiet urgency to maintain cover and security without alarming anyone. At one point, a gust of wind scattered papers from the briefcase, sending both sides scrambling to collect them while maintaining composure. Each of these minor disruptions threatened to unravel the operation. Yet the spies and officers carried on with extraordinary discipline. Both Abel and Powers moved with careful precision, fully aware that any misstep could have catastrophic consequences, not just for themselves, but for the fragile diplomatic balance between two superpowers. In those few minutes, the world seemed suspended in uncertainty, illustrating how high the stakes truly were. The The success of the exchange depended on nerves of steel, impeccable timing, and an unwavering adherence to protocol, proving that even a small error in this tense, high-stakes environment could have triggered disaster on a global scale. Immediately after the exchange, both sides breathed a cautious sigh of relief, but the tension did not disappear. The spies were quickly escorted to secure vehicles and transported away from the location, their movements still carefully monitored to prevent any last-minute attempts at interference or escape. Despite the smooth execution, there were moments that could have turned dangerous. Guards remained vigilant, scanning the surroundings for potential threats, and intelligence officers double-checked that nothing had been left behind that could compromise secrets. The slightest misstep at that point, a misread signal, an accidental disclosure, or an unexpected observer could have escalated the situation dramatically. But everything proceeded without incident. Publicly, both governments presented the exchange as a straightforward swap, carefully avoiding details that might alarm their citizens or provoke international scrutiny. Behind the scenes, however, intelligence agencies on both sides immediately began analyzing every aspect of the operation, from timing to signals, to ensure no vulnerabilities had been exposed and to learn from the execution for future exchanges. The secrecy was paramount. Any hint of a leak could have damaged diplomatic relations or revealed sensitive capabilities. The spies themselves played crucial roles in the success of the operation. Abel, despite years of imprisonment and harsh interrogation, maintained his composure and followed the plan precisely, ensuring there was no opportunity for miscommunication. Powers, who had endured capture and the constant threat of execution, remained calm and professional, understanding that his behavior could influence the perception of the exchange and the safety of all involved. Their discipline, quick thinking, and adherence to protocol were as important as the planning itself, demonstrating the combination of courage and intelligence required in such high-stakes situations. The successful completion of the exchange not only ensured the immediate safety of the individuals involved, but also reinforced the delicate balance of trust and diplomacy between two superpowers during one of the tensest periods in history. The exchange left a lasting mark on Cold War diplomacy, proving that even in an era defined by intense mistrust and ideological hostility, careful negotiation and meticulous planning could prevent disaster. It demonstrated that diplomacy was not confined to formal meetings between leaders, but could extend into the shadowy, high-risk world of espionage, where the actions of a few individuals could have global consequences. After this exchange, both the United States and the Soviet Union realized the importance of developing formalized protocols for handling captured spies. These protocols ensured that future exchanges could be conducted more safely, reducing the immediate danger to the individuals involved, while also minimizing the risk of public scandal or international condemnation. The operation encouraged a more systematic approach, making such exchanges more frequent and more controlled, allowing intelligence services to return valuable agents without destabilizing diplomatic relations or escalating tensions. The experience also had a significant influence on espionage tactics. Intelligence agencies began to train operatives even more rigorously in managing exchanges, emphasizing the importance of maintaining composure, adhering strictly to prearranged signals, and remaining vigilant for unexpected threats. The success of the operation highlighted how patience, discipline, and attention to detail were as critical as raw intelligence gathering skills. Agents learned that their actions, no matter how small, could affect not just their own lives, but the delicate balance between two superpowers. The operation reinforced the idea that in the world of espionage, trust, even limited and cautious trust, was a strategic tool, and that careful coordination could prevent catastrophic misunderstandings. Leaders and diplomats reflected on the exchange with a sense of relief and respect for the stakes involved. Many later remarked that the operation had bought time for peace and had prevented what could have been a potentially explosive international incident. It became a reference point for how nations could handle sensitive situations with a combination of strategic thinking and human discipline. The lessons learned influenced not only the training of spies and intelligence protocols, but also how governments measured the fragile equilibrium of trust, secrecy, and diplomacy during the Cold War. This exchange showed that even in a world dominated by fear, suspicion, and rivalry, careful planning, courage, and unwavering adherence to protocol could avert disaster. leaving a legacy that shaped both the practical and psychological aspects of international relations for years to come. The spy exchange remains one of the most dramatic and high-stakes moments of the Cold War, a tense event where the lives of individuals, the security of nations, and the fragile balance of international relations all rested on a knife's edge. Every person involved faced enormous pressure. From the captured spies who had endured imprisonment and interrogation to the intelligence officers who had spent months meticulously planning every detail of the operation. Each movement, each glance, and each signal carried immense weight, because even the smallest error could have triggered a chain reaction with consequences. Reaching far beyond the immediate participants, the success of the exchange depended not only on careful planning but also on extraordinary courage, composure, and discipline under conditions that few could imagine. The bravery of the spies themselves was remarkable. Rudolf Abel, despite years of captivity and constant scrutiny, maintained his calm and executed every instruction flawlessly. Francis Gary Powers, who had faced the threat of execution after being shot down over Soviet territory, moved with steady resolve, fully aware that his actions could influence not only his own fate, but also the delicate balance between two superpowers. The intelligence officers on both sides demonstrated equal skill and nerve, orchestrating the operation with precision while remaining ready to respond instantly to any unforeseen complication. Every aspect of the exchange, from timing to signals to the positioning of vehicles and guards, was a testament to meticulous strategy and unwavering focus. The event also highlights just how thin the line was between success and catastrophe during the Cold War. A misinterpreted gesture, a delayed step, or an accidental disclosure could have ignited a diplomatic crisis or even escalated into armed conflict, demonstrating the constant danger that defined espionage in that era. The operation's successful conclusion ensured the immediate safety of the spies and reinforced a measure of trust and cooperation between the rival nations, even amid deep-seated suspicion. In a world full of secrets, one wrong move could have triggered a global catastrophe. And this moment stands as a powerful reminder of how fragile peace can be when the stakes are so high. This exchange is just one chapter in the shadowy world of Cold War espionage, and in the next video, we will explore another daring operation where intelligence, courage, and risk intersected in ways that could have changed the course of history forever. As we look back on this extraordinary spy exchange, it becomes clear just how high the stakes were and how much courage, precision, and strategy were required to keep the world from sliding into catastrophe. These stories remind us that behind the headlines and political tensions, real people risked everything in the shadows to protect their nations and maintain a fragile balance of power. If you found this story fascinating and want to uncover more hidden tales of daring missions, secret operations, and the high-stakes world of espionage during one of history's tensest periods, make sure to stay tuned. Subscribe to Cold War Files, where we bring the most shocking and thrilling Cold War stories to life. And join us as we explore the untold events that shaped the modern world. **